Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown Podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. She is the rock to my sock in this rock and sock connection. She is the animal to my hawk. She is the Marty to my Sean, the Jim the Anvil Neidhart to my Bret Hart. She is the best tag team partner in all of wrestling podcasting. Coming straight from the Berg, she is Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on?
Not much. Honestly, I will say though, I've been doing one thing for the last few days, and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I bring it up. I've been listening to Spirit Box's new album on repeat
Yeah.
for the whole I think it came out Friday. So
Yeah.
literally since then, it's
It's a
just
great album. It really is. It surprised me because I'm actually enjoying the songs that are a little bit on the more melodic, softer side.
oh, so you
That
like Crystal Roses then?
yeah, a lot of those
Yeah.
songs is there's a big stretch. Like the album's called Tsunami Sea. It's a great album, great band Spirit Box. It comes out and it just like punches you in the face.
Yeah.
But then like the meat of the album is very melodic. It's like kind of goes into intervals where it's heavy, but it's also soft. You hear a
Yeah.
lot of Courtney's vocal ranges. It's just a great album. And there's a song on there where she kind of blast Ronnie Radke, which I enjoy very,
Yeah.
very much so. Who doesn't enjoy Ronnie Radke getting shitted on?
That's one of my favorite songs too. Soft Spine. I love that
Yeah,
song. But no, it literally that title is very fitting for that album because it is like a tsunami hitting you from start to finish. Like you get up and
definitely.
then you get down and it's just all over the place, and that is absolutely for me a no skip album. There's not a single song on that album where I'm like I don't want to hear this. I want to hear it from start to finish every time.
For sure, for sure. It's a great album. If you guys are into heavier music, more aggressive music, probably music you can like listen to in the gym,
Yeah.
when you're
Oh yeah.
getting when you're lifting and you need a little bit of that oomph, check out that album, Tsunami Sea from Spirit Box. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not a music review podcast, even though we should be. We'd probably be very good at it.
We could
I
maybe. Who
I
knows?
think, yeah, I think we'd be very good at it. We're actually a professional wrestling podcast where Shay and I talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling from WWE and AEW. And tonight is a special episode because we're going to be talking about the AEW Revolution pay-per-view that just happened this past Sunday. Right now, it's Wednesday evening. AEW Dynamite is happening as we speak, but we're foregoing that to bring you our thoughts and analysis of everything that happened this past Sunday at AEW Revolution. Before you get into it, I know this is kind of like a polarizing pay-per-view. There are people that really, really enjoyed it, and then there were people that were kind of like, it was okay, it was kind of mid. Where before we go in deep dive into the matches and everything that happened, where do you fall in line on it?
Oh, it's tough for me because there are a handful of matches that were fantastic. Like
Mm-hmm.
some could easily be match of the year contenders already, and we're only in March. But
Yeah.
it's just the good matches or the great matches were great, but then the ones that weren't just ugh.
Yeah.
And it's not good that one of the matches was the main event, and
Yeah.
I'll get into feelings about that later. But yeah, it's a shame because there were some really bright spots on this show, but then I think just overall as a whole, because of just the ones like we even argued last week, why
Mhm.
are some of these matches on this card that should be on a like a dynamite or a collision, and
Mhm.
one in particular, and I think listeners are going to know which one we're talking about, where we didn't really have high hopes for it, and they did not deliver at all. It was exactly what we expected, and perhaps even worse. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's more average for me. Let's put it that way. It's like the great matches, like I said, were great, but it's just the misses were just so bad that it just brought that whole pay per view down on like
Yeah.
as a whole, which is a shame.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. They kind of fall into this thing, and this is what again, I'm not trying to pit the two together. It's not a us versus them situation, but this is where you can see the glaring differences in pay-per-view quality, where on this show it had what, about 9-10 matches, but
Yeah.
on the typical WWE show, there's about maybe 5. If they're going crazy, there's 6 matches on the card. I think a lot of the matches on AEW Revolution it falls in line with their main problem, which is a lot of matches on this card could have been really good Dynamite or Collision matches, probably main events that could have spiked the rating, since rating is so important to Tony Khan and AEW, and they're trying to get the biggest rating. I think like a lot of these matches would have served better as matches on Dynamite or Collision to help boost that show rather than needing to be on pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's and it I think again, it also just comes back to stop putting 5,000 matches on a pay-per-view card. Like
Yeah,
we're over that the day and age of 10 plus whatever matches on a single pay-per-view is dead. It's
right.
just we don't have the energy for it. We don't have the attention span for it unless you're
Mhm,
putting on banger after banger, but even then we're
mhm.
exhausted. We're going to get
Yeah,
exhausted either way, so stop. Like it's bad enough that I couldn't stay up for the main event because it's a Sunday. I have work the next day, so I had to
right.
literally go back and rewatch it because it's just like, guys, I can't stay up till midnight, 12:30, whatever they feel like doing that day.
Mhm,
Unless you have it on a Saturday, that's one thing. But
right.
lately, they haven't been having shows on Saturdays, so you're kind of at the mercy of do I waste my sleep schedule to watch the rest of this pay per view, or do I go and get sleep for work tomorrow? And thankfully, I chose sleep because when I went back and saw it, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't stay up for this shit. But
Yeah, yeah, it's just and that's the thing. Nobody's saying that they have to mimic WWE and only have 5 matches on a pay-per-view, or
no,
they could have 6 or 7, and
just
it
cut it
would,
back.
yeah, it just needs to be cut back to, maybe instead of trying to go for a 4-hour mark at at most, and that's pushing it, go for 3.5 hours instead of
Yeah.
4. Like, try to shoot for 3-hour pay-per-view and just put your best quality stuff on the pay-per-view. That's the point of the pay-per-view, is to put your
Yeah.
best quality stuff on there that'll make people want to pay for it. A lot of this stuff made me regret shelling
Hmm.
out the money for the pay-per-view.
And that is the worst thing a pay-per-view can do is when you sit there afterwards and go, I really didn't want to spend money on this. Like I feel
Right.
like I wasted my time, and that is the most damning thing a wrestling fan could ever say. And it doesn't matter who. It could be WWE, it could be AEW, it could be
Right.
TNA, Ring of Honor. If
Yeah.
you sit there after a pay-per-view and say, I regret buying that, they didn't do their jobs.
Right, right, exactly. And it's just like a lot of this stuff, man. There's some stuff that stuck out like a sore thumb. Like I said, we're gonna go through it all and talk about all the matches and what we liked and what we disliked. It was an extensive card, a lot of variety. I will give it that. It had a lot of
Yeah.
variety on there.
One
You
of the
know,
bloodiest pay-per-views I've seen, for
oh yeah,
sure.
for sure. And only what, 2 matches
Yeah.
really had blood.
Yeah, but it was enough
Uh,
for about five. But
Yeah, they bled buckets everywhere. Yeah, it was an interesting show. Let's get right into it. We're only going to talk about the main card. We're not going to talk about the pre-show stuff with the Costco guys and the Boom and all that stuff. Shay's
mm,
just like
I
she
still don't
just
get it.
she's just over it. She doesn't really care for it. So we're just going to discuss the main card. It starts off with MJF versus Hangman Page. Now, one thing I thought that was interesting was I was trying I've been, since this whole feud started, this thing has been very jarring to me. And I feel
Hmm.
like it's because they went with the Jeff Jarrett MJF situation. That fell flat, right?
Yeah,
That fell flat, and they needed to pivot to something serious. So they brought in Hangman to beef with MJF, which is fine. I think though I didn't get it until commentary talked about it on the actual pay-per-view during the match, which is MJF's beef with Hangman Page is that he and Hangman Page have both done some very dastardly things.
yeah,
However, the AEW fan base continues to cheer for Hangman
Mhm.
and boo MJF. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
However, that's not the story that they were telling leading up to the match. It
No.
was kind of just like, it was just kind of like they were beefing for whatever reason and taking shots at each other.
Yeah, it's just again that convoluted storytelling that just it just shake your head because clearly, like we said, the story was there.
Right.
Like one of my favorite parts of that match, because this match was great, by the way. It was a very good start to the show. You had the good mix of story and action and everything you'd want in that kind of match. I loved how at that one point, MJF got so frustrated because he couldn't put a Hangman away, and he started screaming, "Why you and not me?" Which comes back to that insecurity he has of deep down, whether he wants to admit it or not, he wants the validation and the love from the fans,
Mm-hmm.
and he just knows he's not gonna get it. And it's that again, that insecurity. It came out kind of during the Adam Cole feud, definitely came out during the Osprey feud, especially when he said the loud part or the quiet part out loud, where it's like, I they love me until you shut up and ruined it.
Yeah.
And so clearly he still wants that validation. He's not getting it. And yeah, it was again great mix of storytelling and wrestling. Except oh my god, that oh geez, that angel wings right on the
Oh,
face. Oof.
ooh,
Little
yeah,
rough.
that was that was rough, and I think maybe that was just like a mixture of like exhaustion because I came towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like what I thought of the match, I like MJF is a great wrestler. It just feels like all of his matches are the same, and like
Yeah.
even if it's something good, too much of it can get you kind of bored, which is kind of how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Like, and there were dueling comebacks throughout the match where MJF would get the upper hand, and then Hangman would get the upper hand, and then it would go back and forth. Like you said, there was a couple sketchy spots like that Angel's wings and that tombstone on the chair on the
Oh.
outside. I've never seen
Ugh.
anything like that. So there were a couple spots like that to make you cringe. And again, it's just MJF being the prototypical bad guy wrestler. I'm not saying it was bad, and I'm not saying the match was bad. I'm just saying like it feels like all of his matches kind of follow that same format.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta bring the ring or the diamond ring out. You gotta
Mm,
do
yeah,
like,
like he's
yeah.
gonna do all the things where he's gonna cheat and try to do some dastardly things to get the upper hand in the match. But again, like the match wasn't bad. It was he like I just want to see something different in this game. Like I just want to
Yeah.
see something
Something.
different in this game because again, the last match he had on pay-per-view was very similar to this match on pay-per-view. And I think he's very smart because he just goes in there and he like works the opening match. The opening match is great, and he's probably like, "All right, I'm out of here."
Yeah. I'm done.
So yeah, he's like, "I did my job," but hey, you can't hate on it. He did his job, and he did what he had to do. I gave this match to start off the show 3.5 flames out of 5. What about you?
Yeah, 3.5 flames. Starting
There
off
we go.
hot.
Here we go. Starting off already on the same foot. But again, I just want to see something different.
Yeah.
I want to see maybe a little bit more of an unhinged MJF. Maybe he's got to do something crazy. Like you realize what put Hangman over the top was he set a man's house on fire, you
Yeah.
know?
Maybe
So
MJF will hit someone with a car. Who
maybe,
knows?
but the thing is the low hanging fruit and making fun of the town and calling everybody fat and poor and losers, like yeah, that'll get you to boo them, but after a while it's just like, all right, does this guy have anything different
It's white
to
noise
offer?
after a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's just background. You can like take this time to scroll through your phone and stuff like that. So I just want to see if MJF is the bad guy of bad guys. I
Yeah.
want to see him do something else besides like make fun of a town and call them poor and fat and some. I want to see him do some real bad guy shit again. Hangman Page set a man's house on fire after he bought the house.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Give
so
us something.
yeah, so give us something. But again, it's pretty cool that we're both in the same realm where we both gave that match a 3.5, because three, like you'll see a lot throughout the rest of these matches. I usually start my barometer, like gauging the matches at three, and then I go
Yeah.
from there, whether I go up or down. So you'll
Yeah,
see
exactly.
a lot of the matches will follow that same suit. We go up next with the TBS Championship on the line. Mercedes Monet, Mercedes four belts, defended the title against Momo Watanabe. Momo Watanabe won the opportunity to challenge for this belt by winning a match at Wrestle Dynasty. And she had the chance to choose any belt from like Ring of Honor, New Japan, CMLL, AEW, and she chose Mercedes Monet mainly because she wanted to avenge the loss that she suffered against Monet. I believe it was back in the summertime where
Hmm.
they met. I actually enjoyed this match. This was one where I felt like Mercedes actually gave a shit.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Watanabe's kicks are no jokes. So
Oh, the sound.
yeah, it was like she has tree trunks for shins, because the way those kicks, those round kicks to the sternum were popping off, and the sound that they were making were incredible. So kudos to Mercedes for hanging with her. And like that one kick where like Momo was holding her hand and then she just clipped her right on the jaw, like right
All
on the
right,
chin.
yeah. I'm like,
I was
ooh, that was
just
a little high.
Yeah, I was just like, ooh, buddy. I
Oops.
was like, that was a live round. But again, I actually felt like this was a match where Mercedes actually cared about going out there and delivering a good match, because I actually enjoyed this match. And one of the best things about AEW is that you're exposed to a lot of people that you wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to watch. And if it wasn't for AEW, I wouldn't know anything about like Riho,
Yep.
Yuka Sakazaki, Konosuke Takeshita, Momo Watanabe, and all these people that they bring in from Japan. And I think that's is AEW strong suit, is that they expose a lot of people to different styles of wrestling and different ways wrestling is done. So I'm really becoming a fan of Momo Watanabe. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was great. Monet gets the win. Again, she's still undefeated in AEW. She gets the win to getting Momo to tap to the statement maker. I gave this match a 3.5 out of 5 flames. What'd you think of the match?
I thought it was pretty good. I feel like there were a couple moments here and there where it was a little bit clunky. It was a
Yes, yes,
little
very much so.
disjointed, but they were still able to like get the crowd back into it because the crowd was not into this match at the beginning at all, which I don't
Mhm.
blame them. They had a very good match before it, so they were a little tired already. I mean, one match in, but no, Mercedes and Momo did a good job. Like I said, a little clunky here and there, but it wasn't like horrifically offensively bad.
Right.
They got it going late in the match. I liked how when Mercedes went to hit her with the moneymaker, which I still have a love hate relationship with that finisher. When it hits clean, it's great.
Right.
When it doesn't, it's ugly. I love the fact that she hit it and then immediately went into the submission. I thought that was really clean. That was really
Mhm.
smooth. I hope she
Yeah.
continues to do that because then at least if she can't hit the moneymaker very clean, she can at least like cover it up with the submission. So yeah, overall, we knew Mercedes was winning. This was a given, but it was still a fun contest. That live round made me cringe a little bit. I was like, yeah, that one was way too high, but
Yeah, that was
yikes.
nuts.
And then I think Momo hurt her ankle, I think.
Yeah, there was a spot where, like, I believe Momo was coming off the top rope, and it was one of those where she like jammed her ankle on the way
Yeah,
down. So, and that was towards like the middle of the match. So, shout out
yeah,
to Momo for toughing it out and finishing the match. Again,
yeah.
this wasn't the prototypical Mercedes Monet AEW match. Like, she actually put some effort in there, and you saw some glimpses of that greatness that I guess we just have to become accustomed now. We don't know if we're gonna get greatness or we're just
Yeah.
gonna get some, run of the mill standard work or whatever like that.
Unfortunately, it's kind of like Charlotte a little bit, where it's like you kind of have
Ooh.
to. If she cares enough, it's great. If she doesn't,
Yeah,
Whatever. But no,
yeah,
this one was good though. You could tell she actually wanted to. You hate saying it because it sounds mean, but it's the truth. It's like she actually wanted to wrestle this match, so she cared
yeah.
enough. But yeah, props to them for getting through the clunkiness and getting the crowd back on their side. I gave this one 3 1/4 flames.
I gave this one 3.5. I think I might have bumped it up from 3.25 just because I was surprised that Mercedes gave us a good match.
Right? Hey, we can't all be stat. What can you say?
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Next up, it was a number one contendership match. The winner of this match would be the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. It was between Ricochet and Swerve Strickland. Ricochet comes out with the embassy robe that he had customized with the Ricochet logo, defacing the legendary embassy robe that went from Prince Nana to Jimmy Rave, who is no longer with us, to Swerve Strickland. So it has a very strong lineage that Ricochet just desecrated with that stupid ass logo. But
Yeah.
as far as the match, really enjoyable match. I probably would have scored it higher if it were a Dynamite main event, but the match was
Yeah.
solid nonetheless. I the vertebraker was on the announce
Oh,
table.
oh,
That was
oh.
probably like the standout spot for me. And that's kind of where it kicked into high gear. I like Nana's involvement. I probably wouldn't have Nana walk off and give Swerve the finger and then come back and
Yeah.
everything is cool, because then I would have been like, hey, what was that all about? Why'd you flip me off and then leave me high and dry here? And
I
then
thought it
come
was like
out
a ruse. I thought it was like
and probably
maybe, but even
I
then, it's like,
I didn't think about it that way, but it could have possibly been a ruse. Um, Again, like it was a solid match. Swerve is to me one of the best that they have in the company, up there with like guys like Osprey and stuff like that. Um, Swerve ends up getting the win and
God.
getting his robe back. And not only that, he is the number one contender for the AEW World Championship, whether it is Adam Copeland or if it's John Moxley, is yet to be seen. But I feel like maybe they realized that they probably shouldn't have taken the belt off of Swerve in the first place.
That's what I've been saying, but it's
Because the thing
fine.
is, if you think about it this way, if he would have held on to the belt after All In all the way till now, we would have been talking about a legendary championship run.
Yeah. But no, we had to give way to nostalgia and the feel goods, and this
Oh,
is what we
come
got.
on now. Don't be you. I feel like that was a shot because Brian Danielson's on my Mount Rushmore.
No, 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 no. No,
Yeah.
it's because we know that Tony Khan is a sucker for that kind of shit, no matter how creatively it doesn't make sense. We'll sacrifice common sense and storyline continuity for the sake of
Right.
the feelies, and that's what happened, and this is where we are now, so
Yeah,
it's
because
fine.
honestly, as that match at All In, I've said it a million times on this podcast, will go down as my all-time favorite match in wrestling. But if you look at it afterward, nothing really came of it. You
Nope.
know, you had the whole thing with the Death Riders takeover, and that was the end of that. And now we have the belt in a briefcase.
Yeah.
Like I said, I probably would have scored this match higher if it was like a Dynamite main event, because
Yeah.
it felt more of a Dynamite main event than like a pay-per-view match. And mind you, it's a match to determine the number one contender, and it's the third match on the card. I would have probably put it a little bit lower.
Yeah.
I would have switched it with the Outrunners and the Hurt Syndicate. I would have moved that up into the third slot and put Ricochet and Swerve in their slot, because they were right before Tony Storm and Mariah May.
And that was our. I will save my screaming for that for the main event because that match order was incredibly wrong, but
Yeah, the match order was really weird.
it was it was fucking stupid. Let's just say it was fucking stupid. But anyway, no, the
Yeah.
match with Swerve and Ricochet was great. The vertebreaker on the table,
Yeah.
it was such a little nostalgic thing for me because I feel like we've talked about this before. But back in the day when the WWE video games were good, and they weren't the 2K versions. They were like SmackDown versus Raw, like those kind of games. If you know, you know. My creative character, their finisher was always the vertebreaker because I thought it was cool, and it's just like that's realistically like you're never coming up from that. Like you're gonna kill somebody
Right.
with it, and there's a
Yeah.
reason most people don't do it. So the fact they busted that out, I'm like, oh, I just feel so vindicated right now. This is great. But but no, the match itself was good. I feel like the drama with Prince Nana and Swerve was a little like too soon. I feel
Hmm.
like it started off way too quick, and then you had to essentially just wait until the very last second for him to show back up. It could have started maybe like closer to middle of the match,
Hmm.
possibly, but I think that's just what they were doing. It was just supposed to be a ruse, maybe. Who knows? I can never tell half the time with them, but the right person won because Ricochet had no business winning that match. I'm sorry. Um, but I'm glad Swerve and Nana got the robe back. Everything's right with the world. Swerve's the number one contender. Hopefully that helps us in a few weeks here with Dynasty. But for the match, I gave it. What did I give it? I think I gave it 3.5. It was pretty good.
I too, for the third match in a row, gave
Of
it
course.
3.5.
Just 3.5s
uh,
everywhere.
yeah, 3.5s everywhere. That's basically where we're at. Um, I'm just looking at it and going, man, if they never take the belt off of Swerve and he's held it up until now,
Yeah.
and maybe they would have put their Death Riders focus. If the Death Riders focus would have been strictly on the EVPs, like
Yeah.
you could have even flipped the Young Bucks back to good guys. Kenny Omega, good guy, you
Mm-hmm.
know, bring the elite back together because they don't want to get back together. Hangman doesn't want to do it. Hangman doesn't want to do it, but he's forced his hand because the Death Riders are taking over. That whole time, they could have did that, taking the focus off of the world title, having it somewhere else to legitimize Swerve's reign, and he could have had a legitimate legendary title reign from the time that he won it last year at Dynasty. Could you imagine a year
Yes.
long reign? Like it
I
would have been perfect.
wish.
It would have been
What we
perfect. And
what
then
we
we
could have
could have
had.
built, yeah, and then we could have built toward Swerve being the guy as the world champion, waving the flag against the Death Riders for AEW, setting up this match at Dynasty. Maybe if Moxley defeats Copeland at the end of this night, because I don't want to spoil that, you know, because everybody's
Yeah.
anticipating our thoughts on that match.
Uh-huh.
But again, you gave it 3.5 flames. I gave it 3.5 flames. Again, I probably would have scored it higher. I think this would have been a great main event on Dynamite. Again, if Tony Khan is concerned in any way, I'm not saying he is, but if Tony Khan is concerned in any way about ratings and stuff like that, you have to, like we said, if you trim the fat of your pay-per-views and the fat that you trim from your pay-per-views, you figure out a way to maneuver it to be your big matches on your dynamites and your collisions.
Yeah.
You probably would have a better show.
Mm-hmm.
You,
Who would have thought that that's the secret formula? It sounds like it's such a
yeah.
hard thing to do, clearly, but
You know,
uh,
you probably would have better episodes of Dynamite and better episodes of
mm,
Collision. But again, uh,
yeah,
we don't work there, so we don't
unfortunately not.
we don't know any better. Anyway, moving on, we have a match for the Continental Championship. We have Kazuchika Okada defending the title against Brody King from the Hounds of Hell. I thought this was a solid match. Brody beat the absolute piss out of Okada. He beat the shit out of Okada.
Yeah,
While I enjoyed this match, it did feel like Okada kind of coasted,
yeah,
much like he's been doing since he came to AEW. Despite getting the shit kicked out of him, Okada is able to hit the Rainmaker for the win. This would have done huge numbers as a Collision main event, not as a pay-per-view match.
yeah,
This could have been one, if we have to put it on the pay-per-view, why not have it open the pay-per-view?
yeah. Like again, the whole just the pacing of this pay per view made my head hurt, but I think it's a good thing you brought up the whole Okada was kind of coasting because this entire match, I'm just like, something just seems off. This doesn't, it wasn't a bad match by any means, but it was just
No.
like, those two don't have the best chemistry, and it was
Hmm.
very obvious, and the crowd was asleep already.
Yeah.
So it just kind of was a mix of all the if things that could have went wrong. But at least, like you said, solid match. I agree. It was good. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't clunky. It was
No.
just like off in like a chemistry way, I guess is the best way to put it, which is a shame because poor Brody deserved better. I'm glad that he got a good reaction from the California crowd though, as he deserves, because Brody deserves all the good things. But as far as a match, I'm pretty sure I gave it 3, which is a
Ooh.
shame, but it was just yeah, it was just off to me, which is a shame.
Yeah. It felt like Okada was kind of sputtering. Like
Phoning it in.
he would phone it in, step on the gas a little,
Yeah.
phone it in, step
Yeah.
on the gas, and you're kind of like, as a viewer I've seen a ton of Okada matches,
Yeah.
and I've seen exactly why they're trying to bill Okada as a legendary wrestler, and he deserves every right to be billed as a legendary wrestler. But
Yeah.
if you're a guy or a girl who's only seen all elite wrestling
No.
Okada and never seen any of the New Japan Okada,
That's
I
a shame.
can I can guarantee you're probably there like, I don't get it, you know?
No,
I don't
literally my mom. Like, cause when he got brought in, I said, "You have no idea how big this is. This guy's one of the best in the world." But then
yeah.
everything he's done since, she's just like, "I'm waiting. I'm
Yeah.
waiting to see it. I don't see it." And I'm like, I can't even argue with you because they're not letting. They're trying to like. I don't know. I guess just like appease him to be like, oh well, he wants to try comedy, which is like, okay, fine, but I think that's enough's enough at that point where Tony's going to be like, okay, you've had your funnies, but
Right.
you have to
I
actually like lock in a little bit now because it's
I
just, ugh.
I
They're
think
wasting
what
him.
it is, yeah, I think what it is that the New Japan style of wrestling is so physically demanding, and
Hmm.
it takes such a toll on your body, because you got to understand Okada's greatness when he was in New Japan was putting on these 40-minute
Yep.
bouts,
Yep.
every single big show that New Japan had. It wasn't like a 10-minute match here. Maybe we'll get a 25-minute banger here. No, these were consistent 45-minute marathons.
Yeah.
The matches he had with Kenny Omega, the trilogy of matches they had, when almost every single match went close to an hour, and again, if you're a person that has never seen New Japan Kazuchika Okada and you've only seen AEW Okada,
I'm
you're like,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. First off, I'm sorry for letting you down. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for hyping up the narrative that they haven't gave you. In a way, and I've said this about Shinsuke Nakamura, because Shinsuke Nakamura kind of is coasting as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though he has this cool new samurai thing going on that I enjoy, it took a while to get there. I
Yeah.
feel like the demanding physicality of New Japan Pro Wrestling, that when these wrestlers come to the States, that they have an opportunity to work for WWE or AEW, you really don't have to beat your body up that badly. So
Yeah.
in a way, I don't I don't admonish them like, oh, you're coasting, that is bad. I
Yeah.
would like to see maybe a glimpse here and there of that greatness. Not all the time. Learn to win, learn that you only have a limited bump card, as they say in wrestling.
Yeah.
So like, not every time do you have to give us these legendary performances, but once in a while, let some of these people know who the hell you are,
Yeah. Remind them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Remind them of your greatness. This match, I think, what'd you say? You gave it a 3? I
Yeah. I gave
gave
it a
it
3.
I gave it a 3 and a quarter. I gave it
Okay.
three and a
See.
quarter because I liked watching Brody beat the hell out of, like,
Oh well, yeah. Of course.
Brody beat the hell. Like, it was funny because we were watching it in Discord, and I think Mike was like, why is his bicep blood red? And I
Yeah,
was just
well,
like, and that was because Brody beat the shit out of him. So it was just like, kudos to him for taking an ass whooping.
yeah, it was good. It's just we could have had better, but that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. Anyway, moving on for the AEW Tag Team Championships, we had Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, the Hurt Syndicate, who hurt people, take on the Outrunners, who apparently have been rookies for the past 20 years. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, never know.
For me,
Ugh.
the Outrunners, more like outclassed is what I had in my notes. Uh
Oh, I was gonna say kind of the same thing. They should not have been in that position. I'm
No,
sorry.
they should
Like,
not have. I would have rather have taken a acclaimed reunion over the Outrunners. This match stuck out like a sore thumb. It wasn't pay-per-view worthy. I
nope.
don't think it was even Dynamite worthy, which sucks because
Not even Collision.
The Hurt Syndicate is a badass team that I would watch every single day.
Yeah.
They just come out and they look like legit badasses. The Outrunners, I think any popularity that the Outrunners have gained comes from us.
Hmm.
I don't want to say, it's not apathy.
Yeah.
It's almost like, oh, they're giving us the typical wrestling thing, so we have to cheer because that's what typical wrestling fans do. They're trying to give us that typical wrestling gimmick from the 80s, and it's supposed to be nostalgic and we're supposed to cheer for it. So, let's just go with the gimmick. And once or twice was good. I mean, but like, to put them in this position,
No.
they like, it just wasn't good. It was not good. It
Yeah.
was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Worst match of the night by
You
far.
you think it was the worst match of the night?
Well, I mean, if we count the main events or the main
I
like cards, but
yeah. Well, like, you know what? It's funny because Mike like viscerally hates the Outrunners. He like hates the out, and I never understood why you would hate him. But like, after watching that match, I'm like, yeah, I don't
yeah,
get it. I don't get it. It's not for me.
they just they pushed them too quickly. Like
Mm,
maybe if they would have kept some of the momentum going for a couple more months, maybe, or maybe if they would have had like decent wins, that would have been one
right,
thing. But it was just like, if you guys listened to us earlier, we kind of alluded to this was the match that we were the least excited about because we're like, we have no hopes for this match because they haven't really given us anything to be hopeful for.
right.
And damn, we thought our standards were low, but goddamn, did they lower them even more? It was just, they were never on the same page. I couldn't count how many times people had to just stand there waiting for someone to show up. Like,
Right, there was a lot of that.
and
Yeah,
it's like, guys, I shouldn't have to be able to count these on one hand, on two hands, how many times this happened. It was just, there's just like absolutely no chemistry. It
there
was
was.
just bad.
I felt like there was a point at the end of the match where like Bobby and Shelton were just like, "Fuck this!
Yeah.
This match is over." Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
They
like,
should have they would have been better off just squashing them and getting it over with. Like
maybe,
at
yeah,
that
but that
point.
would, that might have would have did irreparable damage to the Outrunners. Any sort of
Would that
build
have
up that
been a problem though?
no,
Like,
not to us, because again, we don't get it.
I
We
mean, it's
don't
just because here's the problem. Like,
get.
I don't mind them. I didn't buy into the hype like some people did.
Right.
Mom, on the other hand, she's like, I can't get with them because they remind me too much of Hulk Hogan for obvious reasons.
Mm,
So, unfortunately,
they do.
when you associate yourself with wrestlers of the 80s, that's one of the biggest names, and when you kind
Yeah.
of act and talk and walk like them and be a
Yeah.
certified racist, then you kind of don't want to be associated with somebody like that.
Right.
So,
They do have that sort of 80s Florida wrestler vibe
uh-huh.
going,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't like you said, I think they needed a little bit of traction underneath them, maybe more wins. The AEW is chocked full of tag teams.
Yeah.
They don't have the issue that WWE has where they're like they're sparse for tag teams. There's plenty of tag teams. So if they would have built up like 4 or 5 wins, maybe 2 of those wins come out of feuds and actual programs, and then you give them that tag team title shot, it makes sense. The only thing that this did was make it seem like the Hurt Syndicate was ducking the Murder Machines, because that's how this whole match came about. Was it was a match between the Outrunners and the Murder Machines, and the Hurt Syndicate said, if you can beat the Murder Machines, you'll get the title match at the pay-per-view. And then they helped them. They helped the Outrunners get the match. So again, it just seems like they're ducking the Murder Machines.
Well, to be fair, that's a whole other team where it's like, I don't give a shit about them either. Like,
kinda. Like, I buy into the Murder Machines because they're big and they're muscular and they do big muscular shit. I just don't see the reason that the Hurt Syndicate, who are legit badasses, like, they come out and you just feel like the whole vibe just changes when the Hurt Syndicate comes out. Like, they are legit badasses. They don't need to be running from anybody, really.
No,
you
not
know,
even close.
Yeah,
it's just, I think it was just, once again, AEW not learning, and you don't always have to push the people that are completely over. I'm not saying like don't push them just because they're popular, but you kind of have to give it a little more time. It was just, they did it way too quickly, and it would be nice if they learned, but you know, unfortunately, that doesn't always seem to be the case. But no, this was my least favorite match of the night because it's just, for obvious reasons, I don't really think we have to explain it any further. It was just bad.
Definitely. I gave it 3 out of 5 flames. What'd you give it?
2 3/4 flames.
Woo! 2 3/4. Wow.
Because I gave Brody and Okada 3. There's no way that was the same level as that one. So no.
All right. So this match, I know you want to talk about. It is the Hollywood ending match, where it was no disqualification, no holds barred, falls count anywhere. Toni Storm defending the AEW Women's World Championship against the former champion, the Glamour Mariah May, her former protege. And we all know the history between Toni Storm and Mariah May. I know this was your favorite match of the night, so I'm going to let you take over.
Oh, yes, it was my favorite match of the night for, I mean, the obvious reasons. It was just brutal. It was bloody. They, I mean, I think it's safe to say that you just masked a street fight behind a Hollywood ending. That was pretty much what they did. Like, it was a street fight, but
I think it honestly went a little further than a street fight. It went into straight Taipei death match, which is something I think what we've only seen in like movies. I've never seen it in like, I've seen it, they've done it in death matches before, but never on a main stage like AEW or a WWE where like they're covering their hands in glass.
Yeah, it was I said it during the match, and I'll say it again because it's just the one thing that AEW can get right are women's street fights, death matches of the sorts. That is the one thing that they will always get right. And I think it's more or less a testament to the women who are just like, we're just going to fucking go for it. Like, because if you try to half-ass it, it's going to be very obvious and it's going to make it look terrible and trashy. There's a way to do street fights and death matches right. And this was how you did it. You just go all out. You have to make it believable. You have to make people cringe. And boy, did we cringe many times during this match. Like, Mariah hitting Toni somewhere with the champagne bottle. That was wild. That was insane.
Oh, she hit her somewhere.
Oh, she did. We'll just let you guys go and look at it. We're not gonna describe it. But
she hit her somewhere.
Somewhere where it hurts a lot. Let's put it that way. I did find it kind of funny though. When Mariah dropped Toni on the stairs, and obviously they're showing Mariah a little too much at the time. We're like, we know what's happening here. We know what's going on. And Toni starts bleeding, and it almost looked to me, I don't know if you caught this too, she was almost just like, fuck, again.
Yeah, I caught it. And I think somebody had mentioned they think Toni might have bladed a little too
much.
A little too deep, and her reaction going, oh fuck, was the amount of blood that was coming out of her face.
That's
I
the
think
exact thing I thought too. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
that was a little too deep, Tony. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why Tony, because you see it audibly and you see the camera's right on her.
fuck.
Yeah, she just looks around and goes, "Oh fuck," because like she wiped her face and then she realized like how deep that cut that she gave herself. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah,
you
like,
know.
oh, Tony, you know what? I appreciate the effort. I appreciate
Yeah,
the fight, but what I like too is that despite it being brutal and bloody and essentially, like I said, a glorified death match, was I like that they had all of those callbacks to this entire feud. They had
right.
the champagne bottles, they had the picture of the infamous photo of the betrayal up on the stage, they had the shoe that started it all. Like, they had everything. It was
Mm.
great. Obviously, I wanted Mariah to win. That did not happen. So Erik won the predictions title for the show, which is fine. I was willing to die with
Yes.
Mariah. I'm okay with that. I just loved it. I loved the ending. I loved how they
Mm.
just threw the end up on the screen. Like, they really played into it was the Hollywood ending. And
Right.
this is why, and I'm going to say it now, and it's I mean, clearly it's not a hot take from what I've seen online, but still I have to say it. This should have been the main event. Period.
Mm.
Point blank. That's it. That should have been the
Mm.
last thing you saw on that show was the end. That would have been a cool closing shot. Was just those
Right.
two in a bloody heap on the stage, and the last thing the fans see before the screen fades to black is the end up on the screen. That would have been so much better than the shit we ended up getting at the end, because obviously we'll get into that later, but it's just I'm just sitting there going, this should have main evented. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Not even just visually, like, oh yeah, that would have been a better visual.
Mm.
You put the Death Rider storyline up against Tony and Mariah, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people are going to say Mariah and Tony had the better storyline.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And last I
Mariah,
checked, you put the biggest storyline at the end of your shows. That's how that's
that's
supposed to work.
I mean, again, not trying to make this a uh they versus them situation, but that what you just said harkens back to what Triple H said. He
Hmm.
says, I don't put the women in the main event just for the sake of putting them in the main event. I put them in the main event because the story deserves to be in the main event. If there
Yeah.
is a bigger story that supersedes interest from the women, that story goes into the main event. It's not predicated
Yeah.
on checking off boxes and things like that. And it's kind of in this situation again, like I don't know. I know creatively they have pivoted, and Tony Khan is way more hands-on than he has been in the past,
Yeah.
but maybe that's a problem.
Yeah, I think so, cuz
Maybe he's just not a good booker.
well, I don't think some people are ready to have that conversation, but
I
it's kind
mean,
of
I
true.
mean,
Like,
he's getting lapped in every sense of the creative aspect of professional wrestling. He's
literally,
getting lapped.
like, you had your best storyline right in front of your face, and you're like, nah, we're gonna put it in like the halfway point. We're not gonna put it at the end. And it's like, I know that comment like Triple H has said about if the women deserve to be in the main event, they deserve to be in the main event. Did not go over well with a lot of people. It really pissed some people off, but it's
He's
like,
not
it's
wrong
the
though.
truth though. Like,
He's not wrong.
do I want to see Rhea and Io and Bianca in the main event? Absolutely. Of course I do. Why wouldn't I? However, if they're going to do Roman and Punk and Seth, that's kind of the more compelling storyline. It's just that's just how it is. But back to AEW, I just don't understand why they are so just dead set on this Death Rider storyline, because it has not worked for months. Let me repeat, months. It has no one
Months.
has given a shit about this feud for months. So it just pisses me off that you had your best match, without a doubt, by and far, best storyline, by and far in this company, perhaps in the company's history. You can make the argument it's been one of the best storylines AEW's ever produced.
I would say so.
And you don't put that as the main event?
I would
Please.
say so.
Like, give me a break. Like, guys, come on. And again, hindsight's 2020, because you go back and you see the main event that we obviously will talk about later, and you just see all the stupid shit that happens in it. And I'm just sitting there going, and we lost out on Mariah and Tony main eventing to this.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
But I'll wait. I'll wait until we talk about it. But still, it was just like, but still, either way, my favorite match of the night easily could honestly argue if, and again, some people are not going to like these kind of matches, and that's okay. Not everyone likes all the blood. I get it.
No,
But
no, we've already seen the misogynistic takes on how much blood a
eh,
women's match should and should not have.
yeah,
It's
well, they got to
been
get out of the
blech.
basement. Yeah, they got to get out of the basement first, their mom's basement, to make that kind of
Yeah,
comment. But whatever. But
your
I gave
neck
it.
beard smells.
It literally, it's just like, get a fucking life, dude. I'd like to see you try half the shit they do, and you'd
Can't
cry
do it.
like a fucking baby. But
Can't
anyways,
do it.
but still, my favorite match of the night could easily be argued as one of the matches of the year already.
Yeah, I'd put it
I
up
gave
there.
it 4.25 flames.
Nice, nice. My thoughts basically echo yours. I said the same thing in my notes. I said it's incredible how the women knock it out of the park anytime they're given these no DQ opportunities. This match definitely needed blood, but I don't
Yes.
know if it needed that much blood.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was a little
Yeah,
much.
it made me very squeamish, especially when they went into Taipei deathmatch mode where they decided, hey, let's wrap our fist in broken glass. No, thank you.
The
Uh
champagne bottle.
yeah, these women have bigger balls than me, and I have no shame in admitting that. I gave this match 4.25 flames out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, I don't you were very adamant about this match should have been the main event.
Yeah.
I at the time of watching this, I didn't want the main event that we got. I would have
No.
went with the cage match as the
Yeah.
main event, but I wouldn't be mad if this match would have main evented at all because aesthetically, like you said, that ending shot where you have Tony's body just sprawled over a woman that she once like loved, you
Yeah.
know, with everything, and then the end over the oh my god, RJ City is a
Yeah.
goddamn genius.
Give him a promotion.
This man is a genius. I would have loved to see what RJ City could have done with the Kyle Fletcher Will Ospreay feud.
Yeah.
He probably would have cooked the hell out of that feud.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What
Like
could have been?
I'm telling you, RJ City, like I said a couple minutes ago, it seems like Tony Khan is trying to be more hands-on with the booking, which
And it
is
was
not necessarily a bad thing as long as he's not
yeah.
micromanaging. As long as he's
Well,
not micromanaging, it can be an okay thing. But he needs to utilize people that are thinking outside of the box now.
yeah, and it sometimes we should take the pen away because the decisions are very questionable at
Yeah,
best, at best.
yeah,
But yeah, but no, that was still a great match. My
yeah.
definitely my favorite.
Yeah, speaking of great match, the following match that followed up, it could have easily been in a death spot on the card, but this match actually, I think, pretty pretty much delivered as best it could for what it was, and that was for the international championship. Konosuke Takeshita defended the title against Kenny Omega, and I thought this match was great because it gave me glimpses of the old Kenny Omega.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It gave me glimpses of the old Kenny Omega before he got hurt. You kind of realize that the injury that he was going through was very debilitating
Oh yes.
because now that he's kind of back in the fold and he can work at a regular pace, you saw him bring out that old Kenny Omega that we saw in the beginning of AEW and all of his run in Japan and everything like that. I just thought it was solid stuff. I was surprised at the finish and the fact that it was kind of it ended up on a roll up, which
Yeah.
I don't know if I like.
I appreciate the creativity for giving us something different, but
Right.
also like I don't know. I mean, the match was great. I completely agree. It's great. Fully what we would expect out of both Takeshita and Omega. If Omega needed a big time match to come back to, essentially, because this is like the big match that he's come back to. Of course, it was going to be someone like Takeshita, who I think's definitely proven he is a main event guy.
Yeah.
I just wish they'd get him away from Callis because I don't think he needs them. He's
Mm.
long overdue. I don't think he really needs him anymore.
Mm.
But uh but yeah, it was a great match, even though unfortunately you and I called it because we said Tony's not gonna be able to help himself. And Kenny gets the belt because again, we knew he couldn't help himself. And not that I'm mad about it, but it's just like you just have to shake your head sometimes because you just know that when Tony gets something stuck in his head, it's not changing, no
Right.
matter who says or whatever. But no, definitely a great match. I was a little iffy on the roll up too, but I mean, I guess it could have been worse. Could have been a lot better though, but definitely a match we had high expectations for, and they definitely delivered. I gave it, what did I give it? Let me see here. I gave it 4 flames.
I too gave it
Yeah,
4 flames. So yeah, I thought it was just solid. I think the silver lining to Takeshita losing the international championship is that it puts him in a position where he could be in the main event.
yeah,
We'll speak about the main event later of the show, but if you think about it, Swerve, who we already said is the number one contender and should be getting that championship back very soon. If they want to make it a legitimate title once again, they
yeah.
need to put it back on Swerve. Could you imagine a program Swerve versus Takeshita for the
Oh,
world title? That's a
oh,
barn burner right there.
I would love it.
That is a
That'd be
barn burner.
great.
And I would even forego the separation of Callis and Takeshita to allow it to work in this feud because I feel like it would Callis could actually help Takeshita being that this is the main event spot,
Yeah,
and then not even saying Takeshita wins or loses, but if he loses, he could put the blame on Callis, and then that
yeah,
could start the separation between Takeshita and Callis, which is what you want.
I do.
But I'm just looking far ahead and I'm just seeing like money match and it's Takeshita Swerve money match. Boom, 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 right
Oh,
there.
bucket.
Yeah. So like you, I gave this match 4 flames out of 5. And we still got more matches, ladies and
We're
gentlemen.
almost there. Almost
We're
there.
almost there. We're almost there. We still have 2 more matches to cover, one of which was a steel cage match between former best friends, former brothers, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. And man, did they not hold back. They beat
Mm-mm.
the hell out of each other. More blood, just about
Yeah.
as much blood as we saw in the Tony Mariah match. We got even more in this steel cage match. I mean, the ring was just covered in blood.
Those poor ring people having to clean all that shit up. Just
Might as well just throw it
whew.
out, throw the canvas out.
Yeah, I think
Might,
there's no cleaning that. There's no amount of bleach that's gonna get all those stains out. Like you just had to.
yeah.
It was just. But no, the match was good. It blew my mind that Osprey had never been in a steel cage match up until this point. I'm
Wow.
like, because I think he said it in one of his promos. I believe. I thought he said something about like, oh yeah, I've never like been on in a steel cage match before, and I'm like, that's not right. That's not true. Like, what do you mean? Like, of all people, Will Ospreay's never been in the steel cage match. That's kind of weird, but yeah, you wouldn't have known it because again, it's Ospreay. What do you expect? But it's
Right.
also Kyle Fletcher. What do you expect? Like, Fletcher's good and like
Yeah,
really,
Kyle
really good.
Fletcher is we named in 2024 breakout star for AEW and he's proven us right because
Yeah.
this guy is just really really good. He's really really sadistic. Like I
Yes.
would definitely buy into him being unhinged and unstable and mentally not all there. Like I would buy into it. This guy has got a couple screws loose, especially when he's
Yeah.
able to make Will Ospreay bleed.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I'm still honestly though, I'm still thinking of that Spanish fly from the top. Like,
Yeah, that was crazy.
why did Osprey land on his side? As
Yeah,
soon as he
he
landed like that, I'm like, why did you land like that? Oh my
yeah.
god, you just broke your hip. Like,
I know he felt that when he woke up in the morning.
oh,
Like
if he
when
didn't have a
the
bruise, I'd be shocked.
yeah, when the adrenaline wore off, you
Hmm.
know, and he woke up
Yeah.
and he tried to get out of bed and he was just like, "Uh-oh." Like
Yeah, this is a
yeah,
problem. Like,
yeah.
maybe
Like
don't land on your side next time. But no,
he
it had.
landed square on his hip.
Oh,
Ugh.
just the landing. I'm like, oh, dude, why? I think I
Yeah.
literally said that out loud. I'm like, why? Why would you land on your side? But it's fine though. No, the match was great. Again, it had a good mix of brutality for sure,
Oh yeah.
action, storytelling. Just that the ending with just Kyle screaming, "I hate you! I fucking hate you!" I'm like, oh, this is great. This is some cinema. I like it.
Could you imagine? I would have after the match, like when it's like Will and Kyle just there, like hey, I would just if I was Will, I'd be like, "Are we good?"
Yeah,
Like,
you're like, to be like, yeah, hey man, sorry about that. Got a little
yeah,
too
like
overzealous there, but
because my man was acting like you
it
know he was.
literally it did remind me. And again, I've been finding a lot of callbacks in Star Wars lately, but I don't, you've never seen it obviously, but anybody who's watched Revenge of the Sith, which is still my favorite Star Wars movie, at the very end when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting each other and Obi-Wan chops his legs and his arms off and all the stuff, all the fun stuff, and he's trying to like appeal to Anakin's light side again, and all Anakin's just like screaming, "I hate you." I'm like, that was literally what Kyle did. I don't know if Kyle did that on purpose, but I'm like, that was a Star Wars, to me, that was a Star Wars reference, but I
That's
can make
pretty
anything a
cool.
Star Wars reference if I tried, but no, that was a great match. That was really
Yeah,
good. They need a break from each other though. I think hopefully this is the end for a while
I,
because they need to do other things.
yeah, I do see a lot of these guys having to shift to the main event scene or else they need to
Yeah.
find something that makes sense. It's Swerve main event to catch the main event Omega. He's the international champion, but kind of have to put him in that upper echelon.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay, the best damn wrestler on this planet. That's why I put this match. If it were up to me, I wouldn't be mad if the Hollywood ending was the main event, but if it were my call, I probably would have put this match as the main event because it had everything. It had the brutality. It had the fact that this was kind of like a blood feud, no pun
Yeah.
intended. Like this was there was a lot of animosity behind this. And again, it harkens back to what we were talking about a couple moments ago, where you take your best story
Yeah.
has to be the main event. And between this match and the Tony Mariah match, those are your best stories
Yeah.
right now. And either of those matches should have been the one to main event this pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, and yet, yet we got something else.
Yeah, I gave this match 4.5 flames. The match of the night for myself, again, 4.5 flames out of 5. What about you? What did you give it?
4.25 flames.
4.25. All right. See, we're again, as usual, we're either like right on or at least a quarter separated
Yeah.
between us. I'm interested in not only getting your thoughts on the final match of the night, the main event. Uh, John Moxley defends the AEW championship against Adam Copeland. I refuse to call a grown 50-year-old man
Yeah,
Cope.
we're not doing
I
that now.
yeah, I think that is stupid. So stupid that if like Copeland was to ask me, so what do you think about the Cope thing? I'd be like, yeah, man, that's pretty dumb.
We
Like
would not do that.
yeah, it's pretty dumb. This match for me helped me realize two things, and they're gonna
Mhm.
sound harsh.
Yeah, well, let her
Uh,
rip.
one, I am not a fan of John Moxley, and I don't
Ooh.
think I've ever been a fan of John Moxley.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever been a fan of Dean Ambrose. So I don't think
Ooh.
I've been a fan of this guy ever.
Damn.
He bores the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
He is just boring. And the second thing that I
Ugh.
realized is that I haven't been a fan of Adam Copeland, Edge, Cope, whatever the hell you want to call him. I haven't been a fan of his for many, many years because it just feels like there's a lot of rumblings. And I don't know if
Mhm.
this is like an internet social media thing, but they're starting to compare Copeland to politicking Hulk Hogan. You know,
Oh,
where
yeah, I've seen that. I've seen those tweets.
and the one tweet that sold me on it was they talked about his last run in WWE before he left to AEW, his last like 8 matches or so. They
Yeah.
all had a screwy finish to
Uh-huh.
make sure he doesn't eat the pin.
Yeah. Yeah. It's once
So
or
like
twice maybe, but then it starts to
yeah.
get to be a pattern and then
No, this was like 7.
yeah. Then that's
So
definitely a pattern.
yeah, so it just feels like, oh, maybe he is a politicker. Like, but like
Hmm.
why wouldn't he want to take the L? Like, what does he
Yeah.
have to prove?
Yeah.
There's no way
Yeah.
he can carry AEW as their world champion.
It won't, and it's tough too because you can't cut the same kind of promo of like, "Oh, I'm here to help the young guys," and it's just like,
You literally
ugh,
screwed Ricky Starks over to the point
yeah,
where he was done with the company because he made you mad in a promo.
yeah, yeah. I think well, and I remember reading on Twitter. I think it might have been Cody Rhodes a while ago, maybe. I don't remember how recently that interview was, but he pretty much was just like the biggest red flag I could ever hear a old timer or a veteran say is, "I'm here to help the young guys," because you're not. You never would do. You're always out for yourself. Just call it what it
Yeah.
is. Like, don't try to like bullshit us. And yeah, it's not really
Anyway,
doing Copeland any favors. But
mind you, we haven't even talked about the match.
yeah,
It just
it's
we're just saying all of the reasons why we knew we kind of saw this from a mile. At least I did. I saw
yeah,
it from a mile away. I was like, this match is gonna be a stinker. This match is not gonna be good. And they still went ahead. Man, if this could have been the lead in to the Tony Mariah match or the Will Kyle Fletcher match, fine, perfect, whatever. It probably would have scored higher than what it did on my
yeah,
notes. But the fact that Tony was like, nope, it's the main event, not willing to pivot, not willing
no.
to think, like,
It just, I think the worst part is for the amount of like action we had in some of these matches, like again, the Hollywood ending. You could even say Swerve and Ricochet. You could definitely say Kyle and Osprey. It was like you're watching quicksand, or you're watching a match in slow
yeah,
motion. It was just so slow. Like it never like some matches start slow. That's fine. That's not like we're not knocking that, but it's like inevitably it has to kick into like a second or third gear. This
for
never
sure.
did. This never
No.
did. It was just
And it,
like
it never does for Moxley. Think
no,
about it. It
nope.
never does.
It's always
This
just like I'm gonna like stalk around the ring. I'm gonna like toss you around. I'm gonna bite you in the turn on the turnbuckle because that seems to be a thing. But it's just like what is this? And the crowd was dead, and I mean dead until all the shenanigans and bullshit started showing up. That's when they woke up. But I think that was just kind of like by default. But not even all the extra. I mean, all the extra shit that started happening afterward, like when Yuta predictably came in because nobody would have fully expected him to show up. Like that was such a shock. And then Jay White coming in, which was like that's fine. And then you got the steel chairs, and then you got like, oh, maybe Copeland's finally gonna do this. And then fucking Christian Cage shows up, and we're like, could this get any fucking
Oh
worse?
my god, the Christian Cage, and again, this harkens back to the idea that Copeland doesn't want to eat any pins
Yeah.
in AEW. Um why was Christian Cage out there? Like
I mean, to be
why?
fair though, he never should have had that thing in the first place. It was a waste of time, especially for somebody like him. So I'm glad that it's at least gone now, but also, what was the fucking point of all of that shit?
It,
What
it
was it?
like it like made it like it was
Made
it
your head
was the
hurt.
It was the closing fart before you flushed the toilet.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's literally it. Oh, that's the best way to put it. Uh,
That's the best way I can surmise it. That's kind of what it felt like, because it's
Christ.
just like, it's because like, and the thing is, the Christian thing evoked no emotion from me as a fan watching
Nope.
this. It was just like, I wasn't
Nope.
like, oh, here we go. Nothing. I kind of perked up when Christian did the thing where he put his hand on his chest and the
Yeah.
referee counted. And I was like, my God, that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And
Yeah.
then he doesn't even tap. The ref just like calls for the bell.
Yeah.
And
It's just like, this is what we waited the whole night for. This is what I had to rewatch because I fell asleep. Like, this is what we had to wait for? Like,
yeah, it was just
okay. Great.
you want to
Thanks,
talk
I
about a
guess.
whole nothing burger.
It's
You know,
that with a side of nothing on top of it. Like, it was just, God, it's so bad. It's just
it was
so
just bad.
bad.
It was easily the worst AEW pay-per-view main event in the company's existence. To
Oh,
me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't really think of any
There
other ones
there've
off the
been a
top of my head.
there have been a couple stinkers. There have been a couple stinkers.
Not like
But
that, though.
this one would have cleared out the room for how bad it stunk. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Like, the only interesting thing was what happened after the match, not even the match itself, which is not good.
Yeah, that was the craziest thing. Thank God they had that in their back pocket.
Yeah,
To kind of save the pay-per-view and close out kind of on a high note. But I guess like that's the highest you can get, which
which
is
is sad.
Swerve coming out of nowhere and just Swerve stomping like 12 people, and they're all falling down like cinder blocks, and then that's the end of the pay-per-view. Moxley is retaining the AEW World Championship, so that means for at least another month we're stuck having to see the AEW, well, we don't even see the
Yeah.
AEW World Championship. It's in a briefcase. So again, the only thing I can say is, please, dear God, put that belt back on Swerve.
Oh,
We
please.
we need
Please.
to get that belt out of the briefcase. Whatever idea you had for this briefcase thing, like, oh, this is gonna be really cool. It's not really cool. It's the
No.
opposite of cool.
We tried to
It's
give it a chance. It just
we did. At least
didn't.
I did. At least I
Yeah.
did. I tried to buy. I liked the whole like. It started off when they pseudo executed Brian Danielson. I was like, oh, this is different. This is kind of dark. They're
Yeah.
like suffocating him with a plastic bag. This is not for the faint of heart. But it just kind of nosedive after that. They couldn't ascend higher than that. It just went down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
easily
bad.
it was the worst main event I've ever seen on an AEW pay-per-view. Like I said, when I do these match ratings, I start off at a 3, and then
Yeah.
if the match gets worse, I'll knock it down. If it gets better, I'll go up. I stayed at a 3.
Oh.
That's how much this match didn't move me. It didn't even
Yeah.
move me to decrease points off of it. It was just like, there it was.
It was
That's
there.
that's what it is.
It's a
Right
thing, I
there.
guess. Yeah, I also gave it a 3 because I feel like the only thing that saved it from me knocking it to 2 3/4 like I did with the tag title match was because at least it was a solid match, I guess. As slow as and floppy as it was, it just wasn't like it, it was just,
You
I'm
want to
trying my
I
best here.
does Moxley give a shit?
I don't really know. I don't know if it's that
It's
whole like,
hard to tell with a guy like him if he really gives a shit.
yeah, is it like carefree to the point of like apathy or like, I don't know, but it's just it's painful to watch sometimes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it was to the point like, because the next pay-per-view AEW Dynasty is in my neck of the woods in Philadelphia. I had a
Yeah.
friend that was like, "Hey, tickets for really good seats are like $50, which is the price of the pay-per-view." And
Yeah.
for like weeks I was like, "Damn, what should I go see it live why'd you?
Mm.
And after I'm just like, I don't even really care to get dressed to go all the way to Philly. I just don't.
Oh, oh, that's the problem right there when you're just like, I'm not even like, that's the problem when you don't get moved to go to these shows. It's like,
Yeah,
I'll
and
just
just
spend my
like
money to watch it at home, I guess.
I already bought the bundle
We did
from
too.
P. Yeah, I bought the bundle from PPV. You get like two of the shows back to back for like $85 or whatever.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's just like I don't feel like it. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, would I have fun? Probably, but like
But
it's just like, man, I'm more in tune with. I want to see some good. If we were getting some good stuff, then yeah, I would want to
yeah.
go to see it live. But I'm so focused on I need to see good. That's how not good. Like AEW's been very kind of boring to me, and it hurts me because I want to
Yeah.
be one of those that are like, WWE is awesome, AEW is awesome, wrestling is awesome. This is great. I'm like actively rooting. I want to see goodness. And it's just like when they don't give it to me and like it's glaring. Like you can't sit there. There's a lot of these fake like social media accounts that are in it for engagement and they look at AEW and anything AEW does is like the greatest thing they've ever seen. And it's just like, this is part of the problem when
Yeah.
you have someone like Tony Khan who only wants to absorb how great everything is, and he kind of he doesn't like to be criticized. It doesn't seem.
Yeah,
Um,
very fragile.
it just seems like he's either not listening to the right people or not listening to anyone at all. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he just needs solid wrestling minds. He needs solid wrestling minds and he needs to get into this mindset of everything we put on our shows, whether it's Dynamite Collision or pay per view, has to have purpose and it has to have a story attached to it. You have to get away from the dream matches and let's just have great wrestling matches for the sake of having great wrestling matches. You know what the bright spots of this show were?
Mm.
Matches like Tony Storm and Mariah May,
Yep.
matches like Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Why? Because you really believed in the story of this blood hatred that
Yeah.
these individuals had for each other. You bought into it. So in
Hmm.
turn, you bought into the violence. It was the story that carried these matches into greatness. Now imagine if you trim the fat of your pay-per-views and every single match you had on your pay-per-view, whether you had 6 or 7 matches, had a solid story behind them and they're just not matches for the sake of matches or matches to fill up a card for a title shot or something like that, but
Yeah.
matches where these guys really don't like each other, where these girls really don't like each other. You know, you can
Yeah.
do great things, but it just like everything is so disjointed in AEW, I feel.
Yeah. It's painful to watch sometimes, and that main event was definitely painful.
Yeah, so the only thing I can do is just root that Swerve gets his comeuppance and gets that AEW world title back because
Hope so.
I would love to see him and Will Ospreay do it again. I'd love to see Swerve and Takeshita. You know, I'm becoming a big fan of Will Hobbs. You know,
Yeah.
like there are a lot of guys you can build some stuff around. You know, and it doesn't have to be the Death Riders. And how do we recover from that Death Rider situation where didn't Wheeler Yuta walk out on Moxley?
Yeah.
Like,
Now all of a
is
sudden
it?
he's helping him again.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just like
makes no sense.
with no reason.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Like, make it make
yeah
sense,
yeah.
guys.
Overall, the pay per view and all together, I gave it 3.25 flames out of 5. This was
Three and a quarter flames.
yeah, this
Yeah.
just wasn't a good AEW pay per view. Aside from the
No.
two matches,
Yeah.
So if I thought about this earlier too, and I want to get your thoughts. I'm
Hmm.
looking at the card right now, right, and so I would have kept, the MJF Hangman match.
Yeah.
Um, I would have kept the Mercedes Momo Watanabe match on there. I
Hmm.
would have moved Ricochet Swerve to TV. Okada, Brody, the TV, Hurt Syndicate, Outrunners. I wouldn't put on any show.
What is that one? Just swipe from existence.
Yeah, let's just get rid of that.
Yeah.
I would have kept it on those 3 shows. Sorry about my dog going crazy right now.
He agrees. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, I think so. And then there were like what 9 or 10 matches on the card. If you take
Yeah.
away just those 3, you already have 6, which is solid.
Yeah, I feel like the only two I would have moved off would have been Okada and Brody, and definitely the tag match. That one just would have gotten wiped from existence. I would have kept Swerve and Ricochet on there. I think it was just good action, so I feel like I would have kept that one on the show. That would have been that could have been like an intro match for a pay-per-view, but
That could have been a solid intro match based on the story around the robe.
yeah, exactly. Like just get that shit started right away. And again, with the athleticism and even just the physicality too, it was a pretty physical match, surprisingly, considering it's with Swerve and Ricochet. They had a nice mix of the usuals, plus it was a little more brutal than usual. But that would have been a great opener. But so I would have kept that one on, but I definitely would have taken Brody on a caught off, and I sure as hell would have taken the tag match off because that was a waste of time.
Yeah, it's just yeah. But we also have some comments from Mike and your mom about the show. We always want to get your input. Most of the time when we do these episodes for the Ringside Rundown, they're in question form. We like to answer your questions and talk about the things that you guys want to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. Like I said, your mom has some thoughts, Mike has some thoughts. Do you have those handy for us?
I do. I have them pulled up right here. So we'll start with mom's. So she personally really enjoyed the show. In her opinion, she agreed with me that Tony and Mariah should have closed the show. That was one of the bloodiest matches she had ever seen. It was great storytelling. Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of blood. My
A
God,
lot of blood.
and that's and that was coming from someone who loves horror movies. She loves horror movies, so for her to say that that was bloody was pretty bad. Like, ugh. Me, on the other hand, I'm just like, am I getting a little woozy? It's fine. Like, don't let's know. It is what it is. Could have been that. Could have been my anemia. Who knows? But could have been both. But anyway, she also agreed that the main event left her shaking her head. She still doesn't understand the cash in. I think plain and simple, they just realized it was a mistake to put it on Christian in the first place, and so they were probably just like, let's just get this out of here and pretend it never happened because. Yeah. I don't know why Tony thought in any world Christian Cage winning the world title was going to be a good idea, but that's his favorite wrestler, so that's all that really mattered at the end of the day, and clearly really worked out well for them. Also, just congrats to Kenny on winning. Yeah, I wasn't mad that Kenny won, but again, it was just we knew it was going to happen because Tony can't help himself at the end of the day.
If Kenny winning means that Takeshita moves up to the main event, then I am not mad at it whatsoever. So
nope, I will fully take it too. If it gets him away from Don Callis, even better. And then she said just to keep up the great work. We try. We do our best. Thank you. Thank you, Mom. All right, so then let's get to Mike's. So for starters, he said it was way too long of a show. Thank God I didn't subject myself to 0 hour. Yeah, if I would have went to 0 hour, I probably wouldn't have stayed awake for the cage match, like easily. It's just it's exhausting, especially if you have work the next day and you have to get up early. It's just like you can't physically do it and expect to be fully functioning member of society, but they haven't learned that lesson yet, but maybe they will. So then he went down and listed his great, good, bad, and dog poop match. We'll just go in that order because I feel like we kind of know where it's going to go here. So he thought the great matches were Kenny and Takeshita, obviously. The Hollywood ending, albeit it was a little too bloody for his liking. Yeah, licking the whole blood part, I'm like, yeah, that's a little too much, guys. Like, please don't. Same thing with Fletcher and Ospreay. It was a little too much blood for him again. The whole licking the blood for whatever reason, and then the too many devastating moves that were kicked out of. Yeah, they kind of overdid that a little bit, where it's like, okay, no normal human being would kick out of this, and I get that it's Kyle and Ospreay, but still, it's like you gotta make it at least a little bit more believable when it comes to that. Like, nobody should be able to kick out of some of the stuff that they kicked out of, but
yeah, it was Oh my god, some of those moves, like especially like after the vertebreaker, like he
Yeah,
said, and
oh,
like you just wonder, like how the hell did someone kick out of that? That was one of the scariest moves of the night. It's one
yeah.
of the scariest moves in wrestling. So it's just kind of like a
St-
lot of times you wonder how are they kicking out of these moves.
Still made me happy because I got to see my old move come back. It made a comeback, and but still, I'm also just like, ooh, I can't believe we brought that back. But I'm also not going to complain about it at all. So, all right, so those were Mike's great matches: Omega and Takeshita, the Hollywood Ending, Fletcher and Osprey. So then he went to his good matches: Swerve and Ricochet, Hangman versus MJF. Even though he said the end of the match was kind of meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would agree with that. Momo and Mercedes. He said they got to make Mercedes lose one of these belts. Yeah, it's kind of getting like overkill at this point. But however,
Right.
until she wants to lose one of them, they're not going anywhere, unfortunately. But um, I agree though. She has to lose something at some point. Like, I mean, but then again, if she can't lose to Stat, who the hell is she going to lose to? But maybe someone will show up, but that remains to be seen. So then Mike's bad matches were Brody and Okada, which hurt my soul a little bit. But he said it wasn't terrible. It was just there was no reason to care about it, which I would agree. It was just kind of like I said, it was just off the whole time. But I think we also said that was kind of Okada just kind of phoning it in. But
Right.
oh well. Hurt Syndicate and the Outrunners to him was also bad. Could have been on Dynamite, and Hurt Syndicate should shoot those two into the sun.
I told you he
Yeah,
hates.
I said they should have just squashed that. It would have been more impactful. Again, yeah, I know, because then it would have like hurt the credibility of Outrunners. But it's just like, did this do them any favors? I think it might have made it worse for them. But I digress. Though I would have fully just squashed them. But that's why we're here and not working for them, I guess. And then, and then of course, to no one's surprise, the dog poop match was Moxley and Copeland. Shouldn't have been the main event based on Kyle and Osprey or Tony and Mariah. In all caps, get that belt off of Moxley right now. Well, hopefully in 2 weeks, Swerve will answer our prayer. Well, 3 weeks, 3, 4 weeks, and next month, hopefully Swerve answers our prayers on that one because, like we said, should have never taken it off him in the first place. But
Yeah.
whatever, we've kind of harped on that one. Unfortunately, that never changed. But overall, he gave the entire show 3.25 flames out of 5. So
So I think 3.25 is a good barometer,
yeah,
because you gave it
it's
3.25, I gave it 3.25, Mike gives it 3.25.
It's sad though that it's like a card that had the Hollywood Ending and Osprey and Fletcher overall only got 3.25 flames because everything else around it was just terrible in comparison.
Pretty much, yeah. That's basically what it is. Everything around it was just glaringly not good. That it
Yeah.
took away the goodness from the good parts.
Or just average. That's the worst part
Yeah.
too. Like,
You especially in 2025, if you're gonna charge us $50 a pop
yeah.
for a pay-per-view in 2025,
Yeah.
we cannot have average. We cannot
Nope.
have mediocre. Everything has to be. Why do you think all of WWE PLEs now you can't differentiate which is a big show and which is a regular PLE because everything is on the magnitude of WrestleMania. They
Yeah.
had Elimination Chamber at the Rogers Center. They had like 50,000 people, which is WrestleMania numbers. Those are
Yeah.
numbers we only see for WrestleMania. Now it's just customary.
Yeah.
Now it's part of what they do. So, like, again, if you're going to charge us $50 a pop for a pay per view in 2025, in this economy where everybody's struggling just to get a carton of eggs, you
Yeah.
know,
That's the truth.
like come on, like have some tact, buddy.
Read the
Again,
room.
it harkens back to what I said. I said Tony Khan doesn't have to struggle to make a dollar. When you
No.
don't have that struggle, there's not that, that fire, that like
Yeah.
we sold 200 tickets today, we need to sell 201 tomorrow.
Yeah.
There needs to be that fire in you to make even one more dollar than you did the day before or the show before. Like AEW has unlimited resources, they'll have unlimited resources for the next 25 years. There's not that need to be. I think the only reason Tony wants to be the top of the wrestling world is just to stick it to the WWE. It's not
Yeah.
because he wants to put on a good show or anything like that. He just kind of wants to stick it to the WWE.
And you know the worst part? That's never gonna happen.
Oh
If he keeps
no.
it up, if he keeps up like this, he's never gonna come close. It's not anywhere close. And unless he all of a sudden has a massive change of heart or revelation or something, that's never gonna happen. If he keeps doing the shit he's doing now, good luck. You're gonna be the laughing stock of WWE.
He just has to surround himself with wrestling people that want to tell good stories.
Yeah, and get the little brother syndrome out of your head.
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
what's killing him. It's just like, well, no, you need to notice me. I'm here too. And it's just like, yeah, like, get out of here, dweeb. Like, who cares? Like, that's literally what WWE thinks
it's
of them. Like, they're not threatened by
it's
them.
this it's the same mistakes Dixie Carter was making with TNA. It's the
Hmm.
same mistakes that led to the death of WCW, just
Yeah.
being too focused on overthrowing WWE, and you're shooting yourself in the foot. If I'm running a professional wrestling company, all I'm doing is tipping my hat off to WWE because you can't deny they're killing it in the business. So
Yeah.
I would tip my hat to them, say they're doing a great job. We're simply existing to try to show wrestling in a different way, different from them, but it's not to we're not trying to compete with them. We're not trying to put them out of business. We simply want to show wrestling differently. If you go about that, that is enough goodwill that people will want to tune into your product. But this constant need to, like you said, that little brother syndrome is what's killing AEW.
Yeah. And clearly it's been how many years and he still hasn't gotten it out of his head. So clearly he's just going to keep suffering in mediocrity until he figures that out.
Well, we'll suffer along with him until he figures it out, and then we'll be here when AEW can finally come out of the mud, and we'll rejoice and say, hey, we
Hope
were in the
so.
trenches back in
Yeah.
2025. I don't want
Yeah.
to hear nothing about this celebrating AEW goodness. You weren't there in the dark with us.
Yeah, literally. Like we were on the bandwagon, whether we wanted to
Yeah,
be or not.
exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed our summary of AEW Revolution with our match ratings and what we thought on the matches. Don't be afraid to leave comments anywhere on social media or anywhere you see this posted to let us know what you thought of the episode and what you thought of AEW Revolution. We are a podcast where we enjoy and we actually need your input into giving you a show that you would like to hear. So if you have any input, don't be afraid to leave a comment. Tell your friends about it if they enjoy wrestling and wrestling podcasts. This podcast is available everywhere on the internet. Wherever you listen to podcasts, all you got to do is search Ringside Rundown and you'll be able to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss an episode. If you so happen to not find it on your platform of choice, find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ringside Rundown. Shoot us a DM. Let us know what platform you use, and we will send you back a link to that platform on a silver platter. But the caveat is that you have to give us back the silver platter because it belongs to Shay's mom, and she's been in about 4 Taipei death matches.
Yeah, you don't
So,
taped up glass hands and
yeah,
everything. You don't want to go
she's
there.
she was gonna be a stunt double on the 80s movie Bloodsport, but she decided to not go against that, so but she's crazy like that. So make sure if you get the silver platter with the link on it, you click the link, you subscribe, but you give us back the silver platter because it belongs to her.
You think what Mariah did with Tony in that champagne bottle was bad? Just you wait.
Yeah, see, Shay has experience. She's got some PTSD from mama's craziness. So shout out to
Yes.
Shay's mom. Like I said, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ringside Rundown. We also do live streams for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Collision, and WWE PLEs on Twitch and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. We are 5 followers away from 200 on Twitch. So
Nice.
throw us a follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/ringside rundown. Also, throw us a subscribe on YouTube. Did you know we are only 5 subscribers away from 1,500 subscribers on YouTube?
Insane.
That
That's
is
fucking
nuts.
wild.
That is nuts. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would have a YouTube channel with at least 1,500 subscribers on it. That's
Hey,
nuts to me.
putting in
But
the work.
yeah, if you want to check out all the short form content and full episodes of the podcast are also available on YouTube. It is youtube.com/at ringside run pod. And also, when I do the live streams on Twitch, I also multi stream on YouTube. So if you don't have a Twitch account, you can always hop on YouTube because everybody has YouTube. Again, it's
Yeah.
youtube.com/at ringside run pod. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShayleneHickson21, but I'll probably still be listening to the Spirit Box album, not gonna lie, so.
Yeah, she's going to be spinning that for a while.
I'll be listening to the screamies for a while, so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week. I believe we're going back to our original format, taking your questions about everything wrestling. So if you have a question about WWE programming or AEW programming and you want to get our thoughts, or you just like to hear your name being mentioned on the podcast,
Yeah.
shoot us a question when we drop that questions tweet on Monday and drop it in the replies, and we will definitely answer your question on the next episode of the Ringside Rundown. So I guess we're done here.
I guess we did it.
We did it. We finished everything. This was a fantastic episode. Thank you, Shay, again for taking time out of your week to chat wrestling with me.
Of course, it's always a highlight of my week.
All right. So for Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez. This is the Ringside Rundown podcast. We'll check you on the next episode, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.